You walk past it every single week. Employees watch you do it. They shake their heads because right there, 3 feet from your cart, sits a product so underpriced they buy it before clocking in. We're talking about items that Aldi prices so aggressively that workers admit they feel guilty not telling customers. These aren't your typical Aldi finds. These are the deals that make employees question why anyone shops anywhere else. The number one item on this list is something a store manager said she'd quit buying anywhere else, even if she left Aldi tomorrow. We talked to current and former Aldi employees across 7 states. We compared prices at Walmart, Kroger, Whole Foods, and Target. We tested products. We ran the numbers. What we found are 9 items hiding in plain sight that represent the absolute best value in American grocery retail right now. Number 9. Irish butter. Kerrygold charges $5.49 for 8 ounces at most stores. Land O'Lakes wants $4.29 for a pound, but it's standard American butter. European-style cultured butter from Whole Foods runs $6.99 minimum. Aldi sells their Countryside Creamery Irish butter for $2.69 per 8-ounce package. Pull back the gold foil. The color hits you first. This isn't pale yellow. This is deep golden, almost orange, because Irish cows eat fresh grass year-round instead of grain. Spread it on warm bread and you'll see it doesn't melt the same way as American butter. It stays thick and creamy. The flavor is rich and tangy with a slight cultured taste that regular butter just doesn't have. There's a reason professional bakers pay premium prices for European butter. The higher butterfat content makes pastries flakier and cookies richer. One employee told us she keeps 6 blocks in her freezer at all times because her daughter bakes professionally and refuses to use anything else. At $2.69 versus $5.49, you're saving $2.80 per package. That's a 51% savings. If you use 1 package per week, you're saving $145 per year on butter alone. A former Whole Foods employee said customers used to ask her why their Irish butter was so expensive, and she never had a good answer because the Aldi version tastes identical. But if premium butter seems indulgent, the next item is something you probably buy every single week anyway. Number 8. Eggs. Standard large eggs cost $3.49 to $4.29 at Kroger depending on the week. Target wants $3.99. Organic eggs jump to $5.49 or higher almost everywhere. Aldi sells their golden large eggs for $1.89 regularly and their organic eggs for $4.49. These aren't smaller eggs or lower grade eggs. They're USDA grade A large eggs identical to what you'd find anywhere else. Crack one open. The yolk sits high and firm, not flat and broken. The white is thick, not watery and thin like eggs that have been sitting in distribution for weeks. The shells are strong and clean. A longtime Aldi shopper said she used to drive to 3 different stores for her weekly shopping until she realized Aldi's egg prices were consistently $2 less per carton than everywhere else. Over the course of a year, buying 2 cartons per week, that's over $200 saved on eggs. A nutritionist we spoke with said egg quality at this price point is remarkable because most discount eggs come from older hens in industrial operations, but Aldi maintains surprisingly high standards while keeping costs low through their business model. The freshness makes a difference. Scrambled eggs foam up better. Fried eggs don't spread thin and watery across the pan. Baked goods rise higher because fresh eggs have stronger proteins. At $1.89 per dozen, you're paying less than 16 cents per egg. Even Walmart can't match that consistently. And while eggs are a staple, what comes next is a luxury item that employees say rivals products costing 3 times as much. Number 7. Aged reserve cheddar. Sharp cheddar at Kroger costs $6.49 for 8 ounces if you want decent quality. Cracker Barrel Extra Sharp runs $7.29. Cabot Seriously Sharp hits $8.49. Tillamook Aged Cheddar wants $7.99. Anything labeled Reserve or Cave Aged from Whole Foods starts at $12 and climbs from there. Aldi sells their specially selected Reserve Cheddar for $4.49 per 8-ounce block. This is real aged cheddar, not the stuff that tastes like orange plastic. Unwrap it and look at the surface. You'll see tiny white crystals scattered throughout. Those are calcium lactate formations that only develop in properly aged cheese. They're a mark of quality. The texture is firm but crumbly, breaking apart in satisfying chunks instead of bending like young cheese. Put a piece in your mouth and let it sit on your tongue. The flavor is intensely sharp without being harsh, nutty, slightly sweet, deeply complex. It melts clean without turning greasy or separating. A cheese buyer who spent 15 years at Whole Foods said Aldi's Reserve Cheddar is better than most artisan cheddar she used to sell for $18 a pound because the aging is legitimate and the milk quality is high. She said customers would bring Whole Foods cheddar to parties trying to impress people, but this Aldi cheddar would actually do the job. An employee said during the holidays they limit purchases to 3 blocks per customer because people buy out the entire stock within days. The math is stunning. At $4.49 for 8 ounces, you're paying $8.98 per pound. Whole Foods charges $16 to $24 per pound for comparable aged cheddar. You're saving roughly 60%. For families who eat cheese regularly, that's $300 to $400 per year back in your account. The next item takes that same premium for less philosophy and applies it to your morning routine in a way that'll make you angry at what you've been paying. If you're already mentally adding these to your shopping list, do us a favor and hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't yet, because we're just getting warmed up. The items coming up next are the ones that genuinely shocked us when we ran the price comparisons. Number 6. Ground coffee. Starbucks medium roast costs $9.49 for a 12-ounce bag. Dunkin' wants $8.99. Pete's charges $10.49. Even store brands like Kroger's Private Selection run $6.49 to $7.49. Aldi sells their Barissimo ground coffee for $3.99 per 12 ounces. Open the bag and the aroma is immediate. Rich, roasted, slightly chocolatey. This isn't stale coffee that's been sitting in a warehouse for months. The grind is consistent and even, not dusty or filled with fine powder that makes coffee bitter. Brew it and the flavor is balanced. Smooth body, low acidity, no harsh burnt notes. It's not trying to be a single-origin Ethiopian pour-over situation. It's solid everyday coffee that doesn't taste like dirt or battery acid. A former Starbucks employee said she switched to Aldi coffee 2 years ago and hasn't looked back because the quality is close enough that the $7 price difference per bag feels absurd. She said Starbucks sources from the same major suppliers as most grocery store brands anyway, so you're mostly paying for marketing and the green logo. At $3.99 for 12 ounces, you're paying 33 cents per ounce. Starbucks charges 79 cents per ounce. That's a 58% savings. If you brew coffee daily and go through 1 bag per week, you're saving $285 per year. That's not coffee money anymore. That's a car payment. But coffee savings pale in comparison to what employees say about the next category, which is apparently so popular it sells out regularly. Number 5. Priano pasta sauce. Premium jarred marinara costs $7 to $10 per jar. Rouse charges $8.99 and people swear by it like it's liquid gold. Even mid-tier brands like Classico and Prego want $4.49 to $5.29. Aldi sells their Priano marinara for $1.69 per 24-ounce jar. Pop the lid and look inside. You'll see chunks of real tomato, not puree, flecks of basil and oregano, a layer of olive oil on top, which means they didn't cook it to death or load it with stabilizers. Heat it up and the smell is bright and fresh, like actual tomatoes, not like ketchup or sugar. The flavor is tangy and slightly sweet with a good balance of acidity. It doesn't taste like tomato paste mixed with corn syrup. There's depth to it. A food blogger ran a blind taste test with 6 jarred sauces, including Rouse and Priano tied for first place. Multiple tasters couldn't tell them apart. The difference is Rouse costs $8.99 and Priano costs $1.69. That's an 81% savings for essentially the same product. An employee said customers buy 10 jars at a time during sales because even at regular price, it's ridiculously cheap and it has a long shelf life. Another worker said she stopped making sauce from scratch because the time and ingredient cost don't make sense when this exists for under $2. If you use 2 jars per month, you're saving $175 per year compared to buying Rouse. The next product takes the same approach, but in a category where most people don't even realize they're overpaying. Number 4. Coconut oil. Nutiva organic coconut oil costs $12.99 for 14 ounces at most health food stores. Whole Foods 365 brand charges $9.49. Even Walmart's generic organic coconut oil runs $7.99. Aldi sells their Simply Nature organic coconut oil for $5.49 for 14 ounces. Twist the lid and it opens clean, without oil residue coating the threads. Scoop some out. It's solid white at room temperature, smooth and creamy. The smell is mild, not overpowering or artificial. Melt it in a pan and it liquefies clear and clean. Use it for cooking and it handles high heat without smoking or breaking down. The flavor is subtly sweet and nutty without dominating whatever you're making. A dietitian said coconut oil quality varies wildly and cheap versions are often refined with chemicals or cut with other oils, but Aldi's version is legitimate cold-pressed organic oil that meets the same standards as premium brands. She uses it for everything from sautéing vegetables to oil pulling in the morning. At $5.49 for 14 ounces, you're paying 39 cents per ounce. Nutiva charges 93 cents per ounce. That's a 58% savings. People who cook with coconut oil regularly go through a jar every 2 to 3 weeks. That's $140 to $200 saved annually. And while coconut oil might seem niche, the next item is something almost everyone buys and most people are getting completely ripped off on. Number 3. Almond milk. Silk almond milk costs $3.99 for a half gallon at Target. Blue Diamond Almond Breeze runs $3.79 at Kroger. Organic versions jump to $5.49 or higher. Aldi sells their Friendly Farms unsweetened almond milk for $2.29 per half gallon. Shake the carton and pour. The consistency is creamy, not watery and thin like some bargain brands. It doesn't separate immediately or leave a weird film in your coffee. The flavor is clean and neutral with a slight almond taste, but nothing artificial or chemical. Use it in cereal and it doesn't make everything taste like marzipan. Blend it in smoothies and it creates good texture without adding sugar. A longtime almond milk drinker said she switched from Silk to Aldi 2 years ago during the pandemic when prices spiked everywhere, and she never went back because there's zero noticeable difference in taste or quality. At $2.29 versus $3.99, you're saving $1.70 per carton. Most households go through 2 to 3 cartons per week. That's $400 to $600 saved per year depending on usage. The next product might sound basic, but employees say it's one of the most consistently underpriced items in the entire store. Number 2. Quinoa. Organic quinoa costs $6.49 for a 12-ounce bag at Whole Foods. Target charges $5.29. Even Walmart wants $4.99 for their Great Value brand. Aldi sells their Simply Nature organic quinoa for $3.49 per 12 ounces. Open the bag and the grains are uniform, clean, no debris or broken pieces. Rinse it and cook it and it fluffs up perfectly. The texture is light and slightly chewy with that characteristic pop when you bite down. The flavor is nutty and earthy, not bitter like under-rinsed quinoa. It works in everything from salads to breakfast bowls to side dishes. A nutritionist said quinoa quality matters because poorly processed quinoa retains saponines that create bitterness and digestive issues, but Aldi's version is properly pre-rinsed and cleaned. She recommends it to clients who want affordable, complete protein sources. An employee mentioned that health-conscious shoppers stock up on it because the price is so low compared to competitors that it feels like a pricing error. At $3.49 for 12 ounces, you're paying 29 cents per ounce. Whole Foods charges 54 cents per ounce. If you eat quinoa twice a week, you're saving roughly $90 per year. But this next item is the one that employees genuinely get excited about, and it's the reason some of them admit Aldi spoiled them for shopping anywhere else. Number 1. This is it. Frozen wild-caught salmon. Wild-caught salmon fillets cost $12 to $18 per pound at most grocery stores. Whole Foods charges $15.99 minimum. Even Costco's frozen wild salmon runs $11 to $13 per pound. Aldi sells their Fremont Fish Market wild-caught pink salmon for $6.49 per pound. Pull a fillet from the package while it's still frozen and you'll see the flesh is deep pink, not pale or gray. Thaw it properly in the refrigerator overnight and the texture is firm, not mushy or waterlogged. The smell is clean and ocean fresh, not fishy or off. Season it simply with salt, pepper, and lemon, then bake or pan-sear it. The flavor is rich and distinctly salmon, slightly sweet, buttery, with that characteristic wild-caught taste that's cleaner and less fatty than farmed Atlantic salmon. The flesh flakes perfectly along the natural muscle lines. There's no weird white albumin oozing out during cooking, which happens with low-quality or poorly handled fish. A former seafood department manager from Kroger said Aldi's frozen wild salmon is comparable to fresh wild salmon sold at premium prices because freezing technology has advanced so much that flash frozen fish often has better texture and flavor than fresh fish that's been sitting on ice for days during transport. She said the key is the source and handling, not whether it's fresh or frozen, and Aldi's supplier standards are surprisingly rigorous. An employee said during Lent, the salmon sells out within hours of restocking because people who know fish recognize the value immediately. At $6.49 per pound versus $15.99 at Whole Foods, you're saving $9.50 per pound. That's a 59% savings. For families eating salmon once per week, that's nearly $500 saved per year. A customer posted online that she served Aldi salmon at a dinner party without mentioning where it came from, and 3 guests asked for the recipe and wanted to know where she bought such high-quality fish. She said she felt like she was getting away with something. This is the product employees say changed how they think about grocery shopping, because if Aldi can deliver this level of quality at this price point, what else are other stores overcharging for? 9 products. Total cost under $30 if you bought one of each. Butter that beats Kerrygold. Eggs fresher than Whole Foods. Cheddar that embarrasses artisan cheese shops. Coffee that makes Starbucks look like a scam. Sauce that matches Rouse. Coconut oil at half the health food store price. Almond milk that saves you hundreds annually. Quinoa that undercuts everyone. Salmon so good employees hoard it. These items have been sitting on Aldi shelves the entire time. Now you know what the workers know. You know what to grab and what to skip. You know the real deals from the marketing hype. Hit subscribe because we're exposing the best and worst at every major grocery chain, and the products you should avoid completely are just as important as the ones you should buy.